No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mindell. The Illegal Curve post-game show starts now.
Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. Coming to you live from the Southern Bureau of Illegal Curve Hockey. We say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show. With Dave Minuk, I'm your host, Drew Mindell, here to talk about the Minnesota Wild. They come into Winnipeg for the first game after the Christmas break. The break was not nearly long enough for a banged-up and injured Winnipeg Jets team. The Wild take it to the Jets by a 4-1 margin tonight, inching ever closer to the Jets in the standings. I believe trailing the Jets now by 1 point with a game in hand, as the Jets for the first time this year have dropped 3 games in a row. Good evening, Mr. Manuka. Happy holidays to you. I haven't had a chance to say hello to you in about 5 or so days, maybe even 6 or 7 days. It's been a long time since we last got together, but it is nice to see you again, and hope everything is well in Winnipeg.
Things are good here, Drew. It's a balmy. You and Ezzy are both in warmer temperatures. I've been left behind. It's all good though. I'm happy.
When I got off the plane on Friday, it was the same temperature. I landed in Cincinnati. It was the same temperature in Cincinnati as it was in Winnipeg when I left.
Wow,
I was not expecting that.
All right. Well, nobody's hearts are bleeding for you. I know. I did see that all the way even down to Florida. They were experiencing cold down there. So. But if you're able to go out without a jacket, you're okay. Although it actually warmed up here, so that's not so bad. But what isn't so good right now, of course, are the Winnipeg Jets, and hitting their first 3-game losing streak of the season, and of course losing the first. Ooh, Rob Mahoney, that's some strong language. He got an F Ezzy. Wow. All right. Well, that was one way to start off the show, but and look, it's the first time they've lost to a Central Division rival at home. They're they were 5-0 coming into tonight's game. Now 5-1 and 11-3 overall against the Central, which obviously is still very important that you've been able to earn your points against your rivals. So that's significant. And we're not here to make excuses. And I was joking in advance of the game, talking in the, I guess what do we call it? Like the pre-game show, which is going on during the game, but it's our pre-game show. But I was chatting with some of the folks in the chat already, and I said, like, I've always wanted to do an Illegal Curve post-game show for the Moose. So it kind of felt like that with, 7 of the 12 Jets forwards having worn antlers at one point in their career. Mm-hmm. Of course, with some of those guys like Kyle Connor, it was many, many years ago. Adam Lowry, the same. But still, you can't dismiss the fact. And the Wild obviously were missing Foligno, but they don't have nearly the same. No, it's not nearly the same as missing, at least a full line of your top 6 and obviously other pieces. And there's too many. And it's funny because Murat at one point tweeted something about there's a lot of missed passes. They go, welcome to AHL hockey, because that is what those of us who watch AHL hockey witness quite a bit. And so I think it is unfortunate the way the Jets injuries bug, and we haven't talked about it yet, but of course, Cole Perfetti joining the long list of skating wounded today. He's out 7 to 10 days. Rick Bowness said, I've got it all listed on illegalcurve.com if you are interested in the assessment that Rick Bowness gave. I'll just quickly sum it up, though, for those who aren't aware. But the closest is Saku Menelainen. He's about a week away. Then Cole Perfetti was in that 7 to 10 day range. And then everybody else, and there's 5 other players, were in 2-week plus range. So it's not unexpected, though. That isn't unexpected, Drew. But adding Cole Perfetti, it sounds like Cole Perfetti actually avoided what could have been a lot worse of an injury to himself, after that game against the Boston Bruins on the 22nd. So it sounds like the Jets got a little bit lucky with their rookie and in the, not having as bad a result as it was, but still being without him for the game against the Capitals and then being without him tonight. And I mean, again, curious that the Jets didn't decide to recall. I know they don't have to recall anyone, and the Moose aren't even might not even be in town because they don't even have practice till Thursday. No, is tomorrow Thursday? No, tomorrow's Wednesday. So they don't have practice till Thursday. So really, the Moose are probably not even in town right now, which is probably the reason why I would suspect the Jets didn't make a recall. because I would imagine that they will do it. They might not even do it tomorrow. They might wait till Thursday before the game against Vancouver Canucks. We'll see.
Well, look, I mean, the injuries are they were sort of they were a topic of conversation, leading up to the Christmas break for obvious reasons. But now that, I mean, you look at the forward lines and you watch the game tonight, and you can see the limitations. The way the Jets are currently constructed up front, they are going to have a very difficult time beating teams of quality. And the Minnesota Wild are a team of quality. They are going to be there. I expect that they'll be a playoff team come regular season's end. So the Jets, the way they are constructed, unless Connor Hellebuyck is going to pitch a shutout or give up one goal max, they're going to have a hard time scoring goals, because the book is out on the Jets as they are currently built with all the injuries. Is they're a one-line team, especially if they're loading up that top line. And there's an argument to be said if you like them going with Dubois, Connor, and Scheifele, if you prefer to maybe spread it out a little bit. But it's sort of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. There's no good answer. From Rick Bowness's perspective, he's got three scorers in Scheifele, Connor, and Dubois, and then everybody else is not what you would describe as an offensive threat. And sure, Adam Lowry almost opened the scoring on that breakaway, that shorthanded breakaway, and we'll talk about that as we get into the Betway game recap here on the Illegal Curve post game show. But the Jets right now are in a real difficult spot when it comes to scoring goals. And I know I was on social media and I saw a lot of people calling for a trade and calling for an upgrade to the forward group. And that can't happen until tomorrow at the earliest, because that's when the trade freeze ends. The NHL always has that holiday roster freeze that they're in the midst of. That ends tomorrow. I always find it odd that it doesn't end before the games begin again, but that's neither here nor there. But you wonder if that it's becoming more of an urgency, because you mentioned the length of time that the players are out. And with all due respect to Saku Maanalainen, when he gets back, he's another one of those bottom guys. He's another fourth line guy. That's the role he's best suited for. He's not going to change the Jets' fortunes when it comes to being able to replace offensive talent. The next guy up that's in your top six is Perfetti, of course, but he's not one of the drivers, I would say, of the top six yet at this stage in his career. He will be. I don't think he's there yet. So you wonder, does Kevin Cheveldayoff begin to actively seek out options in that top six, or even maybe a third line guy that can be put into that top six in a pinch? Because if the plan right now is to sort of try and dog paddle and just sort of hold the fort until everyone else is back, well, that's another couple weeks away at least. And then until they're really at game speed, you're probably looking at maybe even 3 weeks away.
Right.
What's the Jets record going to look like at that point in time? Are the Jets going to be still in a playoff spot? Are the Jets going to lose a lot of the ground and a lot of the points that they've banked so far? Is this going to be an extended losing streak? And I don't know the answer. And you have Vancouver on Thursday, and the Jets should be able to beat a Vancouver team that's in disarray. We saw what the Jets did to Vancouver on that Saturday night, a couple weeks ago. But right now, the Jets are a one-line team.
Yeah,
and
a one-trick pony.
They are one. Yeah, and it's not a recipe for success.
Yeah.
And you wonder how long they can just sort of hold the fort for, or do they need to go out and get reinforcements, and not reinforcements from the AHL in this case. I want to be clear. I know that you're an advocate for Jeff Malott, and Jeff Malott would be a nice player, and he's a goal scorer, at least at the AHL level. Yep. So, I wouldn't be surprised to see him get called up and maybe get a run at the NHL level to see what he can do. But it's beginning to get a little bit more urgent than where it was before.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question about it. And we were curious, Drew, and we knew that this was going to be a tough, as the injuries, piled up, and you added, Blake Wheeler and Nate Schmidt to that long list of guys, and now Cole Perfetti to bring it to 7. I mean, it really does become a function of how do you do? And by that, I mean, how do you do in the standings? How are you? Because we've talked about it as a Jets club, you have put yourself into a very good place, and by banking so many points and by being in first place, whether at times, both in terms of points and in terms of winning percentage, right? So you really have done a good job, but you don't want to let that be completely whittled away as well. And I do think that there's probably a part of the organization that's going to watch these next two games specifically to decide. But I mean, you also have to understand, and I think it's a point that sometimes gets lost. You have to have a willing trade partner, right? Totally. And especially right now, people know the Jets are in a desperation state, right? Because of the injury situation. So I mean, the problem, what you don't want to do is you don't want to make a desperation trade right now. And 2 weeks from now, you have Ehlers back, Wheeler back, Appleton back, and you've got to send a bunch of guys down to the AHL. I'm just saying I mean, again, ultimately you want to make a trade that makes sense for your organization. You just don't want to do it out of duress. That's the only thing I would advocate. And I think what the Jets are able to do against Vancouver, what the Jets are going to be able to do against Edmonton could really set the table. If the Jets can offset things, the Jets can somehow, I felt the Jets needed to get 2 out of 3 just to kind of calm the waters. The Jets would have gotten 2 out of 3 wins this week, obviously, and there's only been 1 game so far. But if they could have done something of that nature, to me, that would have been a lot. That would have gone a long way to smoothing things over and then saying, okay, you've got Manalainen coming back. Then, and again, we don't, some in the chat were already saying, well, what happens if you lose other guys? Sure. I mean, at that point, you've got to really start to consider. But
it looked like Morrissey might have been banged up for a minute.
Yeah, well, it was a very, very unusual play where he,
gets tangled up a little bit.
Yeah,
and his arm gets
his
hooked.
arm basically just got pulled, and we could kind of see it in the way we were in the press box. It was right below us, so we're kind of watching him, and you're like, well, that's not good. But it was kind of, but basically where I'm sitting, I could see down the tunnel, and so I could see that he actually was standing in the tunnel. He actually didn't go to he might have gone to the room for a second.
They showed him in the tunnel, so trying to shake it off like this.
So I think that, look, I think a trade is something that you have to consider, of course, because I think as a Jets team, we've talked about this. You have to have depth, and the Jets have some good depth, but they don't have enough depth to offset the loss of an Ehlers, a Wheeler, a Perfetti. Guys, I mean, again, that's 3 out of your top 6. I don't know many teams, to be honest with you, that can afford to lose 3 out of their top 6 and be like, yeah, we can handle it. We can bring guys up from the AHL. They'll fill in that role. Now, I liked the elevation of Jansen Harkins. I was of the mind that you probably should have given him an opportunity to maybe be instead of Carson Kuhlman. I mean, a lot of these guys, you watch them and you think to yourself, like, it's like where plays go to die, and like Axel Jonsson-Fjällby the same. Like, he's got great speed and he's got a good forecheck, and I like him on the penalty kill, but offensively, it's like,
well, I mean,
you watch him break into the zone, and he's got an opportunity to create some sort of dangerous play, and his pass is flat, or the shot is wide. And it's just, and again, Carson Kuhlman the same. Like, he's got opportunities, and they just don't have the hands. They really don't. So
I saw it on Twitter. There was a conversation about that, and somebody said, and I don't recall exactly who it is, so I apologize for not giving that person credit. I'm going to steal their line. It was a good line. They said, if Axel Jonsson-Fjällby didn't play with a stick, would it make any difference? Like, which is, and I think I saw Scotty Billick respond to that person and say, that a scout once said the same thing about Brandon Tanev. Now, Tanev, I think, has sort of found a way to sort of maybe find a little bit more of an offensive upside to his game from when he first started back on the TLC line, going back all those years. But it's true. I mean, they're he's bringing good energy, he's bringing good speed, he's bringing good forecheck. But like you said, you just said it yourself. There where plays go to die. There's nothing else there. There's no follow up. There's no.
I mean, Drew, there was an earlier play when there was a cycle in the Minnesota end in the second period, and you're watching the Jets, and the Jets have pretty good control, and then just a routine pass gets missed, puck goes out of the zone, and it's a killer because you've controlled the play for, like, let's say 20 to 30 seconds. But nothing happens. It's all to the outside, and it's great. But then when you don't actually create any pressure on the netminder, what exactly have you done other than possess the puck? So that's the problem too many times. And the crazy part about this whole game is that the Jets actually were still in it. you know, they didn't start off the game right, and we'll get into this in the game recap, both from a getting scored on and creating opportunities perspective for the first 10 minutes of that first period.
Yeah.
Maybe they were still trying to figure out exactly what the guy from Big Sugar was doing with his double guitar, and people seem it's funny. Like I was kind of like, I didn't really know how to interpret it. Like I'm not some sort of aficionado. I'm not a music buff. I'm more of a biff. So, I mean, I'll take whatever I say with a grain of salt. I was like, okay, like it's interesting. It's curious. It's different. Didn't offend me. It didn't really bother me. I don't really care about the anthem one way or another, but although when the Husili does it, you know, they always bring down the house. So I'm a big fan of when they bring it on, but I don't know. Like I know that it seemed to stir up some passion in some folks on Twitter. We didn't really get into it on the IC Twitter, of course, because I left it alone. But anywho, it was an interesting start to the game. And hey, the last home reverse retro game, which is a shame because the 90s music is great, the jersey's great. And I don't know if there's a correlation here, Drew, but that makes 3 shutouts for the Jets this season, just the third shutout. And this was, I think, game 18 at home? Maybe not that many, but something along those lines. And of the 3 home sellouts, all 3 are losses. I think they've lost 3-1, 4-1, and now 4-1. So
they should stop
going to games, folks. Stop going to games.
There you go. Stop going to games, but keep watching us, the Illegal Curve post-game show. Exactly. We're live here on our YouTube channel. Let's get into the Betway game recap, brought to you by Betway, one of the most trusted voices in sports betting, both in Canada and all around the world, even here in Kentucky, where I'm broadcasting from this evening. Betway is the sports betting app that puts you, the customer, at the forefront with a large selection of betting options in sports, as well as strong promotions and fair odds. What are you waiting for? Head on over to Betway and bet your way. Must be 19 years or older to play. Please play responsibly. And it looked like, Dave Minuk, the Jets were going to get the opening goal in tonight's game. And you wonder how that opening goal for a team that's obviously struggling to score and doesn't have a lot of options when it comes to scoring would have changed the tenor of the game. And it was almost a shorthanded goal. And it's rare here on the Betway game recap where we start with a no goal, but that's what we had here with Dylan Samberg in the box. Adam Lowry breaks in on a shorthanded breakaway, gets hooked, no call, but still is able to shake off the hook and get a tremendous scoring chance on Philip Gustafsson. And he beats him 5-hole with a dandy move, but he just slides the puck just sort of off the post or just wide of the net when it looked like he was going right into the net with the goal to give the Jets an early 1-0 lead. Instead, it's all for naught, and then the Wild quickly transition back up the ice and still on the power play with seconds to go on the power play, 9 seconds to go on the power play. Jared Spurgeon ends up getting his 4th of the year, assist to Ryan Hartman and Sam Steele, and it looked relatively innocuous in terms of a transition up the ice.
Yeah,
but I think this is one that Connor Hellebuyck probably also wants back on this one.
Well, Drew, I don't know if you have to go get the doorbell. Maul's curious about that.
That's not
Everybody's
the doorbell.
What was that?
That is the grandfather clock hanging on the wall every hour.
Kentucky style. Okay,
exactly.
So folks will know when 11 o'clock is. If we're still going at 11 o'clock, which we might be.
It's 11 o'clock here already. This
fine,
is 11.
Midnight,
it's 11 Eastern here. Yeah.
Sorry, at midnight. Joe from Winnipeg had a good one. He goes, "Is that Ezra from at the door?" God,
no,
if it was, let me tell you, Joe. If it was, Drew would not be answering that door.
No, we'd be unleashing the hounds. We don't have the hounds, but we'll be unleashing them anyways if Ezra shows up at my in-laws' door in Kentucky.
I don't know who I said it to. I maybe I said it to you, Drew. I'm not sure, but I know that the Jets have a lot of injuries and have had a lot of it's necessitated a lot of recalls up from the AHL. But what is exactly going on with the NHL officiating from the AHL right now? Because, and look, again, I'm not blaming the NHL officiating for costing the Jets the game. But the officiating's been bad. It really has been very bad. I mean, it's crazy when you can think about plays. And look, I mean, here's a clear example. Because I'm watching the play in real time like everybody else on TV. I mean, I'm live there, but sometimes you have a benefit. Sometimes, honestly, there was a play in the second where I said, too early in the second, I said two chances for Jansen Harkins. Turned out it was Adam Lowry. but it was whatever. But the point is, so sometimes the benefit of having a replay is a little bit easier than those of us watching live, even though we have the replay on the TVs upstairs in the press box. But I'm watching the play live, and I see Lowry, and it's a great chance, slides it through the 5-hole, and he just slides it wide, of course, as everybody knows. But I'm watching the clear hook, and I thought to myself, okay, well, the Jets aren't going to have he didn't score, but it's going to be a 4-on-4 opportunity here because that should kill the penalty. And I do wonder, I know Lowry finished his check in the corner, but I do wonder if the Jets anticipated a penalty because the Wild turned it up quickly while the Jets were a little bit late in getting back. So yeah. And look, I think Connor Hellebuyck wanted at least both the first two goals, back to me. I mean, they weren't good. I mean, his save, first of all, look, again, the Jets didn't start on time, right? Like, and this has become a trend now. I can't tell you now, Drew, how many games, but it's at least the last few where I've said the Jets have one shot through the first 9 or 10 minutes of the game. And again, today, through the first 10 minutes of the first period, I mean, both teams rested. Both teams were, in the exact same situation. Both teams were coming off of a loss in their last game before the Christmas break. Again, the Jets are significantly more banged up than Minnesota, but the Jets had no jump, right? I mean, even if they're AHL guys, they should have jump, and they didn't. And so you start the first 10 minutes, you get one shot on net. Now, it turned out that they only needed a couple of shots before they were able to get within one, but it was not a good goal for Connor Hellebuyck. And it was, I just didn't think it was a good look for the referee because, again, like I said, I'm watching it in real time. To me, that looked like a penalty. I just think I do wonder if that impacted the way part of the issue here for this show is like, we watched the game, we watched these things, but I haven't gone back to see the body language of the players. But this would be my conjecture was, did the guys think there's going to be a nullifying element to that power play?
Well, look, after he got the shot on goal and the good scoring chance, you knew it wasn't going to get called as a penalty shot.
I didn't think penalty shot.
Right. Well, I mean, had it been, it had to have been a penalty. I mean, it's a textbook hook, and I don't want to talk about the officiating because we've talked about it ad nauseum, and I'm clearly of the opinion this is the new standard you have to expect. The only way it's going to get better is when the NHL, which means the owners, put a more significant investment in improving the officiating. That's when it's going to get better. And until the owners make the determination that they want to put their money to ensure a better and more consistent quality of product from the officials' perspective, that's when it's going to happen. Until then, we're just going to talk until we're blue in the face about games where there's good officiating, games where there's adequate officiating, and games where there's bad officiating. And that's just the reality of the situation where we're at right now. It's incumbent on the league itself to improve the officiating because the officials can't get better on their own under the current circumstances. They just won't get any better. I think it's a combination of...
What's the incentive?
For the owners?
No, for the refs.
Well,
other than
I don't think they're trying to do a poor job.
Well, I'm not suggesting they are, but I mean, Drew, there's 4 of them. There's 4 officials on the ice.
I think they're probably overworked and not specific to tonight, but in general, I think they're probably overworked. I think that they probably don't have enough downtime to actually look back and do. We
don't have enough downtime. We're overworked.
Well, I agree wholeheartedly, and that's why they need to pay us more in order for us to get a better quality of product out there for the fans and for our audience here on the Illegal Curve post-game show. But that's my opinion on the officiating. It's going to be consistently bad until somebody else decides that they don't want it to be consistently bad anymore, and that's just I think the fact of the matter. And so when you're going to have issues like that where the Adam Lowry call gets missed, you're going to have the Kyle Connor call late in the game where the Jets should have had a 5-on-4 man advantage while trailing by 2 goals for the final 4 minutes of the game, but inexplicably it doesn't get called. The ref decides that it was friendly fire or whatever. We'll never hear from the refs, as you indicated on Twitter, but that's the only logical conclusion, is that a clear high stick. He thought that it was actually, I think it was Dubois, he thought must have got a stick up on Connor as opposed to the Wild player, which it was clearly not the case.
It's true. I'm sorry.
That's terrible officiating. I'm not making excuses.
again, no. I'm not, I know you're not, but yeah. And I know we don't want to skip ahead too far because that's not to the third period. But when you look at the video, and Kyle Connor literally has he's like Scarface. It's like from here to here, and it's completely slathered with like the what's it called?
The Vaseline.
To prevent it from bleeding. Like that is just. It's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. And again, like I said, we call it straight down the middle. I think we're pretty good at that. And I'm watching this game and I'm thinking to myself, what am I watching? Like if you're gonna and like I said, I don't mind if they don't call like little things. If you're gonna let stuff go, that's fine. Do it both ways. It's fine with me. I don't really care. I don't like over officiating in hockey anyway. So I'm fine with the game being called. If it's egregious. But that's another egregious situation where a guy gets a slash. I understand. But you know what's funny? There's 4 officials. 4 guys can make that call and are watching to see what's happening. And you're going to tell me all 4 of you missed that? It's insane. It really is. It's insane. And there's no justification for it. And again, like I said, I'm not suggesting that. Well, I mean, the truth is, I didn't have a significant belief in the Jets coming back and winning this game. But that's a clear double minor.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a clear 4 minutes, and it's a 3-1 hockey game. Instead, it's a 4-1 hockey game.
And then they probably pull Hellebuyck, and it becomes a 6-on-4 for the final 4 minutes.
That's right.
Yeah. Look, it's a terrible miss. It's an absolutely terrible miss, and there were a number of them in the course of this game tonight. And and that's just the way that the NHL is going to be. That's the standard the NHL is accepting. Is that
look,
they're happy to. Sorry, Dave. Let me finish this thought. They're happy to review the most a millimeter of a skate blade offside call, exactly. But they're not happy to review, or they're not happy to get right a clear high sticking penalty that could have altered the game. Instead, it lets the Minnesota Wild off the hook. Not to say the Jets were going to come back, because the Jets' power play had been atrocious in the couple of opportunities that they had tonight, but it just takes away an opportunity for the Jets to stage a comeback for reasons. It's just poor officiating is what it is.
Yeah, no, I honestly, and like I said, it's, Joe from Winnipeg made the point about, it's not as if there's amazing officiating in the AHL. I mean, I would pull my hair out all the time watching the AHL, some of the curious calls that we see there in the AHL as well. So it's not as if there's and again, I am no expert when it comes to officiating. I'm not going to pretend to be one, other than, what I see in front of me from many years of watching hockey. But I mean, at the same time, like I said, you just think to yourself, like, there has to be a better way. And maybe, look, our friend Seth Rohrabaugh from Pittsburgh, who covers, of course, the Penguins, and he's been on our show since the beginning, I think. So yeah, he's been a big advocate for officials having to answer questions, and I don't think it's a bad thing, because I think if you do make look, you send one person, send Judy Owens, you send someone from somewhere to the Judy, of course, being it's
a pool reporter is what it's called. It's one reporter who goes down and asks on behalf of all the reporters and shares the quotes with everybody. It's what they do. It's what they do in the NBA. The refs have to be accountable. Look, the NHL loves to not be accountable. They like to pretend that they're one of the big 4, but everything that they do and every way that they act is not like one of the big 4 sports. It's like the big 3 and the redheaded stepchild. The NHL is the redheaded stepchild, and it's always been the case. And they're happy with that for whatever reason, even though everyone else thinks that they're a bit of an embarrassment at times.
But Drew, you have redheaded children. You shouldn't be using that sort of terminology.
Well, but my redheaded children are wonderful, and they're accountable for their actions. The NHL is the redheaded stepchild that refuses to take responsibility for their actions. My redheads are terrific.
And they're not your stepchildren, so that makes it
And
even
they're not
easier.
that's true. And they're also not my stepchildren. The Wild make it 2-0. It takes them a minute and 4 seconds after they made it 1-0. Matt Zuccarello, who played a whale of a game, I thought, for the Wild tonight, had his 16th of the year assist to Kirill Kaprizov and Sam Steele. And this is another one that I think Connor Hellebuyck wants back. This is just not, when the team... Hellebuyck is well aware of the team that's playing in front of him. He's well aware of their limitations. And he probably knows that deep down inside, he can't give up more than 2 goals a game. Because that's basically, to ask these Jets as they're currently constructed to get more than 2 goals, to get 3 goals, more than 3 goals in a game is probably asking a lot of them. And in this one, you don't want to give up, the second goal that early in the first period. And this one's not a great one at all. Just goes right through them, basically, in what seemed to be a relatively innocuous play. And the Wild have a 2-0 lead.
Look, it was a world-class pass by Kaprizov. I mean, he really did. When I watched it live, so the play, the way it happened, David Gustafsson looked like he actually had it and just kind of lost it at the end. The puck almost appeared to jump forward and onto the stick. So you're kind of it was a bit of a bad break for Winnipeg. Yeah. And then, Kaprizov with the beautiful drop, and then Zuccarello fires it past Hellebuyck. And you've just given up the goal. You know that your team doesn't have a lot of juice. You gotta be making that save. And Connor Hellebuyck, I mean, look, we on this program have sang the virtues minus the singing of Connor Hellebuyck this entire season. Yeah. So the reality is that, I mean, we are, when we praise him, we will praise him. But when he doesn't deserve praise, then he won't deserve praise. And on those first 2 goals, I'm sorry. And again, hockey isn't in a vacuum. The defense has to play better. The defense isn't playing as if it was otherworldly, because the Wild hit 5 posts today. Yeah. The Wild had the puck a lot in dangerous spots and had opportunities to convert and didn't. But the reality was that it's not all on 37 by any stretch of the imagination. But I mean, he generally would make that stop. And so it's one you expect, especially knowing how critical early in the game it is, because what it does is it destroys the crowd. The crowd is completely out of it, except for the Wild crowd. There were a significant, and I was trying to figure this out as to why, of course, the Minnesota Wild, I always joke, friendly Manitoba versus Minnesota Nice. And then I figured it out. Connor Dewar from the Paw, Ryan Reeves, of course, from Winnipeg, Kalen Addison from Brandon, and head coach Dean Evanson from Winnipeg. So a lot of Manitoba, friendly Manitoba on that Minnesota Nice roster. But actually, in addition to, of course, having a rivalry with Minnesota from the playoffs, it was good. I actually like when you have those fans in the building and creating a bit, trying to get a go Wild, go chant, and then the Jets fans react, because that's the kind of thing that gets people going and animated. What doesn't get people going and what doesn't get people animated is when your team has 1 shot in the first 10 minutes and have given up 2 goals. That's deflating. That kills your third sellout of the season.
The Jets cut the lead in half at the 10:03 mark, and it's the big guns. It's the top line doing their thing. It's Pierre-Luc Dubois with getting his 16th of the season, assist to Kyle Connor, and of course to Josh Morrissey. And this is Pierre-Luc Dubois at his best, just embarrassing Jonas Brodin, just walking around him with some fantastic moves and a great toe drag, and then beating Gustafsson. It almost looked like it wasn't going to beat Gustafsson, but then sort of hit the post and then sort of ricocheted off of Gustafsson, the skate or his pad, and then squeaked just over the line. On first glance, it looks like it wasn't in, and then a delayed reaction for the puck getting into the net to make it 2-1. A huge goal, and just an absolutely beautiful goal by Pierre-Luc Dubois.
Well, it's a couple of things. First of all, it just goes to show you, again, the world-class vision of Josh Morrissey and the skating. I mean, if you watch the replay, because, again, it's something that would be ignored based on how nice the pass from Kyle Connor was and the move by Pierre-Luc Dubois. But if you watch what Josh Morrissey does, the way he creates a little space for himself and then head up, sees Kyle Connor, hits. And again, we talk about how bad the passing was throughout the course of the game. Well, that was NHL passing to an NHL elite forward who can receive the pass in full flight and continue to carry it forward. And that's what we saw with that pass from 44 to 81. And beautiful. Like, again, what do we see? The Jets attacking the transition in speed. And sure enough, or making the transition in speed, I should say. And sure enough, Kyle Connor feathers it over to Pierre-Luc Dubois, who is moving with speed, Drew. And yeah, you're right. I mean, that's what he played big. I mean, that's what you need. Pierre-Luc Dubois is like a power forward, and the Jets need that power because they don't have a ton of it right now. And so, you have Pierre-Luc Dubois, and they've loaded up that top line with Mark Scheifele, Pierre-Luc Dubois, and Kyle Connor. So they need offense because they know that they're not getting it from a lot of other sources on this Jets team. That second line, which traditionally would be your third line, which again is worth noting, is part of the reason why the Jets, know that they're not going to have they're not going to have a ton of scoring in the next, 3-4 games. So they're going to need to win 1-0, 2-0, 2-1, maybe 3-2 type games against teams. And so it is a remember, it's only I think that was the second shot on net and they scored on it, but it brought life into the building. It really did. And suddenly now folks are excited and the crowd is good because it was, I mean, a greasy goal would have been just as good, but there is something about watching a beautiful goal and it got the crowd even more animated and more excited. And folks, like I said, we're celebrating and we're excited and suddenly felt like, well, maybe the Jets were a bit more into it. And it did see that, Drew, right? The follow-up from the Jets was more attack after that.
Well, to the end, it didn't turn into a goal, but most of the time it does. 9 times out of 10, 95 times out of 100, it turns into a goal for Kyle Connor. He had a golden opportunity which would have tied the game at 2, which would have reset the game back to being equal. Shortly after Dubois cut the lead in half, and he just sort of fired it right at Gustafsson, where normally Kyle Connor gets that goal. And I'm not gonna. It was just a bad shot by an otherwise tremendous player who normally is able to take advantage of that, and ifs and buts and everything else. And this is definitely one of the ifs and the buts in that case that could have just as easily had tied the game up at 2. Instead, it was still 2-1 for the Wild at this point in time. And then,
but Drew, sorry, quickly, just to interject, what a pass intentional, of course, by Josh Morrissey trying to bank it off the end boards and in front of the net and hope it creates exactly what it created, which is, obviously sliding through Gustafsson, underneath Gustafsson. And you're right. I mean, Kyle Connor would score that goal. I mean, when we first watched it in replay, I was like, what an incredible save. And of course, it's a reactionary move by the goaltender when he realizes the puck is not under him and he knows it's in front. He reacts the way he did. But yeah, upon watching the replay, you realize that Kyle Connor shot it right into the numbers, into the crest, I should say. And regardless, like it's still an incredible, play, but it's just unfortunate because that really would have been a tie turner because the Jets, having had such a poor start, to be able to claw back into a game that was critically important, right? I mean, remember, Minnesota comes in and they're hot. I think they've won 13 of their last 17 games, but they're prior to the end of the game, Drew, they're 3 points back of you with the game in hand. So that they're chasing you. And not a lot of the questions, I should say, but one of the questions that Rick Bowness was asked about today in his pregame media availability after morning skate was that idea of being the hunted and how comfortable his team is going to be being hunted. Well, they're going to be hunters pretty soon if this maintains, but right now they're still being hunted.
They certainly are. And then the Wild made it 3-1. And this is just after another power play opportunity for the Jets. And the power play tonight was anemic. Both units of the power play. Never mind. I mean, that second power play unit is just, I mean, I know that the injuries are a factor and everything else, but that second power play unit with Kyle Copa-Bianco on the second power play unit, that's just I can't criticize too much because the Jets don't really have very many other options really, but it is just sort of humorous how bad that second power play looked. It didn't even look like a power play unit. The first unit wasn't that much better either tonight, which is a separate issue altogether. But just as the penalty expires, and Matt Zuccarello, who we mentioned earlier, got the wild second goal. He steps out of the penalty box, and he just beats Neil Pionk. And Neil Pionk, just not sugarcoat things here, Neil Pionk was bad tonight for the Winnipeg Jets. He was bad. He hasn't been good by and large this year for the Winnipeg Jets, and he keeps getting a pass. And I understand that there's a lot of, that he's Mr. Chaos. He produces a fair bit offensively and generates some good things offensively, but he gives so much of it back defensively. He's like old school Byfuglien, if you will, not obviously in size or in stature, but Byfuglien back in the day where, the good buff and bad buff. Well, it's Neil Pionk is a similar way. He does some good things, but at the same time, he does a lot of bad things. And this is just, Matt Zuccarello is a small player. Matt Zuccarello is not a guy that that should be easily beating Neil Pionk at this point in time. And that's what happened here. He just beats Neil Pionk, and then he sets up Frederick Gaudreau for the goal that makes it 3-1 for the Wild, that coming at the 8:55 mark of the second period. And that was the last one I'll call real goal of the game, because the other one that made it 4-1, it was into an empty net after the missed call against on the Kyle Connor high stick, where Connor was high stick. But Neil Pionk just gets, he's not going to enjoy looking at the videotape of that when the team sits down tomorrow to watch that.
No, it's a pretty bad play at the blue line where he just kind of gets turned around and loses his spot. And then next thing you know, you're right, Drew. It's a 2-on-1, and Capobianco goes down trying to prevent the pass across, and sure enough, it's a nice play to knock it by Zuccarello to knock it into the into the net. And Connor Hellebuyck, really, of the 3 goals that he gave up, that one was the one that he had the least chance on.
Yeah, that's a 2-on-1, but the 2-on-1 should never materialize. There's
no
it
shouldn't have
for
been.
that to ever turn into a 2-on-1 situation.
No, of course not. Like I said, he's turned around and he's looking the wrong way, and he's going one way, and the puck's going the other, and that's never a good sign for a defenseman, because you're in tough there, and Capobianco, like I said, did his best to try and nullify it, and you got to give them credit, because it was a nice elevation over Capobianco, who sprawled out pretty good. But yeah, at that point, to me, that was and again, it's another one of those situations where you could have very easily, it could have been a 2-all game, right? The Jets had a chance just before and didn't, don't finish it off. And sure enough, the Wild get that third goal. And once they get that third goal, you're thinking, this is not looking good. I know there's still another period of to play, but the Jets just haven't had that. Like I said, there's just too many instances of plays getting on guys' sticks and dying on guys' sticks. And just, there's just not enough
skill. That's just, there's just not enough.
If you're not going to sugarcoat it, yes, then there's
just not enough skill from a lot of the guys who are in the Jets lineup right now. And that's not, I'm not trying to be insulting. It's not like that's not a fact. They're just guys who are fourth line guys. They're energy guys. They're guys who are going to play.
How many fourth line energy guys can you have?
Well, you have too many playing in your lineup right now, because you don't have any other options. And that's just where the Jets are at right now. And that's the question is, do they, as we started off the postgame discussing, do they tread water? Do they try and survive this stretch for another, certainly another week at the, until maybe Perfetti's back and Manalainen, but Manalainen's not a difference maker, but then another 2 weeks for Ehlers and maybe another 3 weeks for Wheeler. And then maybe you start to get a little bit healthier. But, the truth is you're probably looking at, it's December 27th, the All-Star break is the first week of February. So that's probably sort of where you're looking at, when the next time where you might get everybody healthy, assume there's no more injuries from now until then.
Yeah, you have a 10-day span.
Yeah, you're probably looking at about the first week of February, where we're coming out of it at the end of it. Yeah. That's when you're going to have everybody healthy. But where are the Jets going to be at that point in time? That's the question. How can they hold on to this for another 5 weeks? And if this is the roster that they had to ice tonight, and this is the way they're going to play for the next 5 weeks, I'm skeptical if they're going to be in a good position 5 weeks from now, because all the good work that they did can quickly evaporate. And it's a shame that it's going to evaporate by and large due to injuries rather than just poor play from the same players. But that's the reality of the NHL. Nobody feels sorry for you when you don't feel sorry for your opponent when they have the injury bug, and nobody feels sorry for you when you have the injury bug.
I think Jacob Stoller told me today that he said that outside of the top line, the Jets don't have a player who makes more than $1 million or $1.5 million on the next three lines. So, that tells you something about the forward depth.
Maybe with Lowry might be the exception.
Of course. But you know what I'm saying? Like the ancillary pieces, of course. Obviously, maybe not with that. Obviously, Adam Lowry does. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just there's a lot of spare parts that are added to this roster. And don't get me wrong, these spare parts, I'm not maligning it. I like Adam Lowry, Morgan Barron, Jansen Harkins.
They played well. I thought they played well tonight.
I thought they played okay, and I thought they're a very good third line. David Gustafson, Kevin Stenlund, Axel Jonsson-Fjällby. If you want to go the Trey Kroner, all Swedish line, or Michael Estimont, if you want to throw him there, I don't really care. They're interchangeable for me. That's fine because it's fine because again, look, I liked those guys on the PK. I thought, Stenlund's good on the PK, Gustafson's good on the PK, Axel Jonsson-Fjällby would be good on they're all fine in their roles. The problem is you're asking them to do things they're not capable really of doing. Yeah. And so to me, it's the whole square peg with a round hole and stuff like that. And unfortunately, the solutions aren't easy. They're not easy. And some people are saying, well, who are you going to get, right? You're not going to recall guys from the World Juniors, right? And they're not the solution anyway. Sorry, guys. Right. I know people are asking about Brad Lambert or Chaz Lucius. I'm of the opinion you're more likely to see those guys go to junior hockey after the World Juniors than you are to see them in the NHL. Maybe I'm wrong, but they're not making a dent. Right now, the Moose are rolling without them, right? So it's a really tough situation, and I understand there's a lot of frustration. Excuse me, but one guy, and I understand. We've just had the whole conversation about spare parts. Jeff Malott is a guy who I would be of the mind set to at least give him a shot in the lineup against the Canucks. He's big. Look, he's a 6'4" guy who has 12 goals in his last 15 games. Understood that it's against AHL competition. We have a guy who's feeling good about scoring right now, and he scores from a spot the Jets don't get a lot of goals from in tight in front of the net, right? And so to me, maybe you get a guy like Jeff Malott who can skate, who's big, can play a bit of a heavy game. He's not afraid to mix it up. Not part of his game really, but I'm just saying you might need to do something because again, I just don't see this magical trade with happening right now for Winnipeg, especially given the sort of trajectory of their returning players. So if the Jets can go in and stay home, obviously on Thursday and beat the Vancouver Canucks, which again, I'm not saying that it's an easy task, but it shouldn't be a insurmountable one.
Right.
And the Edmonton Oilers, that's kind of a crapshoot, really. To be honest with you, you don't know what Oilers. I know they're playing Calgary right now. I don't know what's happening in that game. So, anyways, all I'm suggesting is that it's not that simple. It's not as simple. And I know maybe we'll finish the game recap and then we can talk about this, Drew, because like I said, it's an unfortunate situation for Winnipeg, but they're really in that kind of damned if they do, damned if they don't, because right now, if you make a trade, you're trading away more than you would have to, I think, because any GM that you're calling and being like, hey, so remember that player you got? I kind of wouldn't mind grabbing him. He knows you're desperate. He knows you're in a situation that, and look, the Cat in the Hat makes a good point. Why trade? Change the style of the game. I mean, I think you trade because if you're going to run with this lineup, you want to have depth, and you're seeing what's happening right now with a lack of forward depth. So if you lose, and again, the likelihood of losing all three of Ehlers, Perfetti, and Wheeler is not easy, not something that teams expect. But look what happens when it happened, right? And you can never predict this stuff. And with the way the Jets schedule is, it's something that's you have to be aware of. So why do you make a trade? Well, you make a trade to get depth for a potential playoff run. You just don't, to me, you don't do it yet. I mean, again, if you lose 2 more games, if you go into a 5-game slide, 6-game slide, maybe you have to do something. Maybe you don't have an option. But for right now, if I'm Kevin Cheveldayoff and his brain trust. What I would suspect happens is they play out this week. They see how they do. Maybe they get 2 wins. Maybe things turn around. I mean, it's funny. It's funny how sports works, right, Drew? Like, how many times have we watched things and we're like, the world's ending because the Jets don't get off to a great start. And then all of a sudden, they do what they do. And then people remember the Jets were off to this fantastic start and people are like, wow, remember what happened last year? And it's like, okay. So, I mean, I think in Winnipeg, you're always kind of conditioned to expect the world to come crashing down on you at some point. But to me, I suspect what they'll do is they'll maybe make a recall, get some new guys into the lineup, see what they can bring. But I don't think they're going to make any significant moves. And again, just look around the league. It's just not happening right now. And so I think if something comes along that makes sense for the Winnipeg Jets, they'll do it. But again, they're not in a position of strength. And it's going to be hard to make some sort of trade right now because of that.
You were asking for the score update. Oilers 2, Flames 1 with 20 seconds to go in the third period. And then in another upset, to talk about an injury-riddled team, the Colorado Avalanche, they get doubled up by the Arizona Coyotes. 6-3. The Coyotes beat the Avalanche tonight. In a score that I don't think any of us expected. Anytime the Coyotes win, that in and of itself is something that's unexpected. That has been the Betway game recap. The Wild defeat the Jets 4-1 tonight in downtown Winnipeg. It's been brought to you, of course, by Betway. It's simple, fun, and safe to bet with Betway. So head on over to Betway and bet your way. Must be 19 years or older to play. When we come back on the Illegal Curve post-game show, more on tonight's Jets Wild game, the unique code word, we have the winner to announce from the last game, and of course a Tough Duck hardest hitting comment. Much more to come. Don't go anywhere. Drew Mandel, Dave Manouk, we're with you on a Tuesday night. It's Tuesday, right? Tuesday night. I just had to double check. Thank you. It's Tuesday night. We're with you on a Tuesday night. This is the Illegal Curve post game show.
Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock, Jon Stewart, Dennis Miller, Brad Garrett, the biggest acts and all the up-and-comers. They've all made their mark at Rumors Comedy Club, North America's longest-running independent comedy club. Rumors has kept Winnipeg laughing for over 25 years. When was the last time you laughed out loud? Make it a great night out with friends or book your office or birthday party, even a fundraising event at Rumors. Get all the details and dates on upcoming shows at rumorscomedyclub.com.
He winds up. Oh, looks like Ezzy took that one right in the choppers.
A blistering fast puck hurts like HE double hockey sticks. That's why I let the pros at Linden Market Dental Center turn my yow into
wow.
Get your brilliant smile back with state-of-the-art restorative and cosmetic dentistry from real pros.
And remember, always wear a mouth guard.
Now that's solid on ice advice. Learn more at lindenmarketdentalcenter.com. Creating smiles for life.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rollies Transfer Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com.
Dave, my man, why are you in the car already? It's hours until game time.
Drew, it's because I'm stressed out right now, driving around downtown Winnipeg, looking for a parking spot, and I'm not finding one. I've lost Ginsburg. I don't even know where that guy is right now.
Dave, haven't I taught you anything? Do what I do. Pre-book your entire month's worth of game day parking with the Grid Park app. It's super easy to use and saves me both time and stress.
Well, Drew, I'm not independently wealthy like you are. So I'm sorry that I don't have millions of dollars to pre-book my parking month in advance. What's that going to cost you? $25?
How about $5?
Come on, $5? No way.
$5. I'm not telling you a lie. And our listeners can get a free park with the new special promo code Illegal Curve. Guess what? There's more.
Come on, there's more, Drew. You're lying to me. What more could there be?
Grid Park now has underground parking, so my car can stay warm during the game.
So wait a second. All the driving around I do, looking for parking, minus 40. You're telling me I could be toasty warm in a car after the hockey game?
That's exactly what I'm telling you. Underground parking. Just download the Grid Park app. That's GRYD Park and use the code Illegal Curve. All one word. You'll park for free your first time.
Hi, it's Drew from Illegal Curve here. Selling your home can be stressful, but it wasn't for me. Thanks to my friends at Zappia Group Realty, they made the process so easy. My home sold within 48 hours and with multiple offers. Zappia Group Realty took care of everything with their exquisite customer service and attention to detail. If you want to sell your home for more in less time, get started by talking to Frank and Mauro Zappia of Zappia Group Realty. Online at zappiagroup.com.
For 3 generations and over 80 years, Tough Duck has been making apparel that works and plays as hard as the people who wear it. From jackets to work boots and everything in between, Tough Duck's clothing can handle the harshest environments, even the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Work to live, live to play. Visit toughduck.com.
20 minutes before the top of the hour in Dave's case would be 11 o'clock. The top of the hour in my case would be 12 midnight. We welcome you back to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mindell, Dave Minuk with you, talking about the Jets dropping a 4-1 decision to the Minnesota Wild. A couple of post-game quotes. This from Rick Bowness about the missed high stick late in the game. I just looked at it. This courtesy of our friend Murat Atesh. Quote, I just looked at it. It was their stick. Now, are they calling that Pionk stick is under theirs? I don't know what they were calling, but it was clearly, I mean, he made it look like it was our stick, but it wasn't our stick. Rick Bowness on the high stick that was not late in the game. Here's Brendan Dillon on the same play. Quote, I think all 20 or 21 of us thought it was a high stick. It's frustrating. A key point in the game, whatever it was, 3 or 4 minutes left in the game, it would have been nice. So some frustration from the Winnipeg Jets, justifiably so, as a result of the missed high stick in tonight's game, but ultimately a 4-1 defeat. The Jets losing to the Minnesota Wild. They lose 3 in a row for the first time this season. The Jets next back in action on Thursday against the Vancouver Canucks. Post-game, 9:45 p.m. Central Time, 10:45 p.m. Eastern Time, after the Jets and the Canucks do battle on Thursday night, Dave.
Drew, I think probably Brendan Dillon should have said the most critical part was actually showing up on time and starting the game without giving up 2 quick goals and not taking more than 1 shot in the first 10 minutes. But that's just me.
I'm sure he maybe he said that in a different quote that I haven't seen yet.
Perhaps. Look, I mean, it is what it is. It creates more nervousness for this Jets club. I mean, they've got a practice scheduled for tomorrow. We'll see if it ends up happening. And then they've got the Vancouver Canucks here on Thursday night. And then, of course, they jet off to Edmonton to welcome the new year, or close out 2022 and welcome a new year in Edmonton against the Oilers, who I'm seeing here have defeated the Calgary Flames. So,
yes,
look, it's a gut check time. I mean, it's gut check time for all these guys. I mean, we know that. And I've talked about this a lot, and I've said this repeatedly. I mean, this is an opportunity, right? I wrote about this on the little site called illegalcurve.com today, but one person's misfortune is another person's opportunity. And so with, for example, Perfetti going down, that's obviously that's a brutal thing, but hey, if you're Jeff Malott and you're champing at the bit to get up to the NHL and earn your second NHL game of your career, and you've deserved it. I mean, 12 goals in 15 games. I would be hard pressed to think that he won't be the guy who gets recalled. I could be wrong. Could be Alex Limoges. He leads the team in points. If they want to be safe, it could be Dominic Toninato. He has 3 goals, 3 assists in 9 games for the Moose. It has to be Malott.
It has to be. Look, if your solution is coming from the Manitoba Moose, it has to be a more of a bold solution. And with all due respect to Dominic Toninato, we know what he is at the NHL level. And the Jets are fielding a roster with about 5 of those guys in their forward group right now.
No, absolutely. And like I said, to me, the guy who has to do it because he deserves it is Jeff Malott. And so, like, I would be shocked if it's anyone other than Jeff, because he started off slow, right? And like I said, he's got goals. 5 goals in his last 7 games and 12 in his last 15, and go on illegalcurve.com in the morning papers. I think it was today or no, sorry, in the was it, or maybe actually, sorry, maybe in the post I've gotten written about when Jeff Malott gets recalled, my prediction, but it'll feature some of the goals that he scored, or you can go on my Twitter, I see Dave, and just search. But like, he scores the type of goals that you need from a guy who's 6'4" and can stand in front of the net and get into those dirty areas. So to me, he would be the guy who has to be the one who gets the call up, and he, you have to reward those guys. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to make another waiver claim? So Jeff Malott is a guy, Bob, who I think can score. We'll see if he can do it at the NHL level. There's no guarantee, but for now, you need to kind of throw some darts at the dartboard and hope something lands where you need it to land, and maybe he creates a little chemistry with someone that's the one good thing about these Moose guys all being up together. They all have a fair bit of chemistry together, so you may be able to put someone with Jeff Malott that he's played a lot with, and maybe maybe Jeff Malott and David Gustafsson can get going together. Who knows? Maybe Jeff Malott paired up with Adam Lowry and creating some a little bit of a line with a bit of size. Like I said, we're not paid to create lines here, Drew. We just give our own opinions as to what we think. And again, as someone who watches the Manitoba Moose more than most people, I would suggest that if you're going to make a recall, it would be Jeff Malott.
Well, it'll be certainly something to keep an eye on tomorrow. The Jets,
to answer Snuka 2002. Jeff Malott traditionally is not a fighter, but I tweeted out a video of him fighting about 4 or 5 games ago. So if you want to check that out, you can go check that out. He doesn't generally fight. He's a pretty mild mannered guy, but and remember, Morgan Barron and him, really good friends, played together in Cornell. He calls Morgan Barron one of his best friends. So good chance that maybe there's a little connectivity. Those guys might have a little chemistry. Who knows? But I'm just saying it's all possibilities, and it's all things that it's from a Jets perspective. If you're not going to make a trade, that's the route I would go. I would take someone like that who may have some chemistry with Morgan Barron. I mean, they look good at points, last year in the playoffs for the Moose. Obviously they didn't win against Milwaukee, but that's the route I would take, Drew.
Well, we'll find out tomorrow if they are going to go that way. I believe the Jets are scheduled to practice around 12 noon tomorrow.
Yeah.
So if there's going to be a call-up, it'll happen sometime in the AM hours.
As an aside, Drew, yes. I was laughing about something, and I said this during the commercial break to the folks in the chat, but should I release the uncut version of the Grid Park commercial? Because I was watching it the other day, and it's actually very funny. But it's long. It's like 5 minutes. Like I was thinking, should we watch it on here together with everyone and do like a reveal thing? Like, but I do want to put. I was almost going to create a poll, being like, do people want me to do the Grid Park commercial where Drew and I are like the first cut, which is terrible. The second one where I like say something stupid, so then I cut myself off. The third one, we nail it, and then we're rather funny at the end. So
I'll tell you what, maybe don't do that just yet. We'll see how the season progresses, and if the season progresses in such a manner that we need,
I don't know, Drew. There's a lot of people are already excited. Bailey, do it. Leslie, absolutely.
Well, wait to
Reg
it.
wants us to make a separate. Phyllis, how can we go against Phyllis? I mean, Phyllis is like our she's there working the folks to get us likes. I mean, kind of hard. Frosty Winnipeg wants us to. Beer League wants us to. I mean, this is, Doug Thorsky wants us to. I mean, like, it's kind of almost want to give the people what they want because, like, they didn't get to laugh much during the thing. John Chan, all the way from Southeast Asia, he's telling us to do it. So, I mean, like, there seems to be an appetite for it. So we're not going to do it tonight because I haven't set anything up. But the people have voted, Drew. The people have voted. You and I will be back here on Thursday.
Look, as long as I get my acting credit and I get my Screen Actors Guild health insurance, that's all that I care about. So
there you go. Well, T-Will wants to free the Grid Park, so we're gonna free things for the Grid Park. We'll do it. C-Mac wants us to. Johnny Boy wants us to. Look, I mean, people are excited. People misspell Dave Minuk, man of the people, giving us what we want. That is true, Miss Bell. I am a man of the person, as opposed to my two bourgeoisie partners who are off in parts unknown. I stay in Winnipeg. Keep it real.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
real.
yeah. Yeah, very good. Tough Duck hardest hitting comment. It's hard to follow up on that, but I'm going to give it to Brent Palaschuk for this comment, or Palachuk. If there's supposed to be accountability in the room, why the hell is Neil Pionk still playing? By far the worst D-man on the team this year. The analytics don't lie, and you're absolutely right, Brent. The analytics don't lie, and they do not like Neil Pionk this year. I don't expect that he's going to be out of the Jets lineup anytime soon, but if you want to pinpoint a player, particularly one who needs in his game and improve his game, I agree with you that it should be Neil Pionk. So, Brent, congratulations. You are the Tough Duck hardest hitting comment winner for tonight's game. You can send me an email, drew@illegalcurve.com, or you can slide into my DMs at ICDrew. Send me your name, send me your mailing address, and our friends at Tough Duck will send you out a toque. Congratulations to you, Brent, the winner of tonight's Tough Duck hardest hitting comment. Dave M., time for some merchandise stuff. Maybe do a little bit of that before we wrap up on this Tuesday evening. Okay, the Illegal Curve merchandise contest. Let's do this again in case you maybe have forgotten how the merchandise contest works. In the drop-down arrow here on the YouTube channel, you'll see the show description. Click on the show description. You'll see a link to the contest page. On the contest page are a number of different activities you can do in order to gain additional entries to the Illegal Curve merchandise contest. If you can't find the contest link on the show description, go to our website, illegalcurve.com. Basically, click on any article there. You'll see the contest link. Click the link. You'll see all the things you can do. It's like following Dave, myself, Ezzy, retweeting things on our Twitter feed. And one of them, of course, to gain 10 extra bonus entries. And keep in mind, the big draw, the grand prize draw for the month of December is coming up in a couple days' time. So you better get to your extra entries in now. The unique code word, which will gain you 10 entries on its own. Dave M. tried to sort of throw people for a bit of a curve.
Nobody got it, Drew. Nobody got it. I had a lot of people asking me, a lot of people in the chat asking for clues. They couldn't get it. Kenny's water bottle and I almost had beef, which is very rare.
Wow, beef.
Because KWB, well, it would only be kosher beef if I was eating it, but KWB was upset because he felt that I had maybe used like letters and different combinations and like hyperlinks and all sorts of things. Nothing. I used just letters, folks.
Just letters to come up with Minnesota
not so nice.
So nice.
Exactly. So normally I say friendly Manitoba versus Minnesota nice, which obviously if you've been listening, I've referenced a couple of times throughout the show. But I had a feeling that the Minnesota Wild weren't going to be so nice to the Winnipeg Jets today. So today it is a Minnesota not so nice. Plus my buddy's wife, who he was living in Minnesota, but his wife was from California, and she said, you know, they're not always that so nice here. So she used to think that they were Minnesota not so nice.
Well, there you go. So Minnesota not so nice is the unique code word for today's Illegal Curve merchandise contest. That's all one word, all caps, no spaces. Minnesota not so nice. Enter that into the contest page. You'll gain 10 extra entries for your chance to win, of course, authentic Winnipeg Jets merchandise, courtesy of us here at Illegal Curve. And, of course, coming up at the end of the month, the grand prize draw tickets to an upcoming NHL game.
Your choice.
Of your choice. So maybe you want to see the Jets play whomever they're playing in the month of January. If your name gets drawn at the end of this month, at the end of December, you let us know, and you will have an opportunity to go see an NHL game of your choosing. And of course, we also have merchandise to give away following tonight's game. And the winner of the Illegal Curve merchandise
very excited.
contest,
I'm not going to lie. When I saw this winner, Drew, I mean, this person is in the chat consistently. The person is in the chat right now, which always makes me happy whenever someone is in the chat, because we don't determine who wins here, of course, but I am.
Yes, I just want to reiterate to everybody again.
You don't have to reiterate it, because then you look like then it's not true.
I know, but
for the record, Drew, you actually have nothing to reiterate, because you literally have no influence on it, because you don't even do it. The only person who does it is Dave M. So I'm
It is
just
a
gonna,
random draw, though. It's a completely
Yes.
random draw. We use random draw software. We use software that we pay for. So it's completely random draw that has come up with the merchandise contest winner for tonight. Dave M, do you want to say the name while I put it up on the screen?
I will. And
Dun, dun, dun,
she's currently trying to guess. Hey, you did it too quick. Bailey Weeb. Congratulations. Bailey is in the chat. She is a one of our youngest viewers, and we always appreciate her energy and her attitude. She brings it, win, lose, or I see Drew. She's always having fun in the chat with folks. And so when I saw her name was the winner, I'm sorry, Alan, I know you're upset because you said you have 398 entries and all you've gotten is Bobkiss. Hey, Alan, maybe 398 is going to be enough to win you the grand prize.
Tickets.
So the grand prize. So we'll see. But way to go. And for the record, even though she's Bailey the intern, she is still eligible because the intern element is somewhat unofficial. So Bailey the intern, even though we're going to call her Bailey the intern, she is the winner of the contest. So congratulations, Bailey, and congratulations all the contest winners. Because I've got an easier week, tomorrow is going to be a day I'm going to be reaching out to a bunch of people to make some deliveries. Thursday, Friday, I'm going to be doing that as well. I've got a pretty good week this week, so I will be getting all of those out to all the winners. Lisa, she's in the chat. She's waiting for hers. Kenny Water Bottle, Spencer, everybody's waiting because, again, like I said, there's only one of me, unfortunately. And so I will try and do it, with Drew going off to Kentucky and Ezzy going off to Mexico. There's only so much time I've got in a day to get this done. But don't worry, folks. I will get it to you soon. I promise. I'll try and get to as many as I can this week. But congratulations, Bailey, on that win. I saw Doug Thorsky. Doug's also gonna get some merch courtesy of IC. So how did some of you know before Dave announced it? Darwin, I don't think nobody could have known until.
I think Darwin's video might be behind the chat. Is the
maybe
only
that's
conclusion
why.
I could come up with.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay,
Yeah, I don't think Darwin's quite watching the video as live as the chat is
Frosty
is the
Winnipeg
situation.
saying Dave is waiting for a second person in Southdale to win before coming over. No, Frosty was waiting for you to get good again so I could come introduce myself and meet you and give you your prize. So that's not quite true. And the truth is, actually, I didn't want to give Spencer Sutton his until Ezzy was available because I kind of feel like I need those two spirit animals to come to meet.
Do the Spider-Man meme.
Hundo P.
Spider-Man meme where they're just
100%.
pointing at each other. Of course, Ezzy's never coming back from Mexico, so that's not going to be possible.
Not a chance. Well, it's not that he doesn't want to come back. It's just that flights are never coming back. So
he's stuck in Mexico for a while.
You're welcome, Bailey. Like I said, we love everything you bring to the show. And like I said, I hope everybody can win. We've got lots of gear to give away. Hopefully you consider yourself winners just for being able to spend time as part of the IC community. And Drew and I appreciate every moment you guys and girls spend with us on these shows. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts for joining us for another one, because sometimes these games are not. Oh, if Maul lives in River Heights, that's an easy one. I'm going to just keep hitting repick. Maul, you're the winner. Yay. Sorry, Bailey. Well, Maul wins, not you, because that's a house in River Heights.
Yeah.
Although it was funny because one of the winners actually, I think, lived either on my street or very close. So I was like, oh, well, that's an easy one. But anywho, for the record, that does not determine, because as folks know, there's people who have won in Lockport, Morden, Winkler, Steinbach, and of course Winnipeg. So and don't worry, John Chan, for the record, I would love to personally deliver to Singapore. I've never made it that far. Well, I mean, I've been to China. I've been to China, no big deal. But it's been a few years, and so I don't plan on going back right now. But I would love to personally deliver it if I could. So maybe that's an option. Maybe we need maybe the airfare that people associate the giveaway tickets with, which, for the record, let me disclaim, there is no airfare. But maybe that mystery airfare, Drew, I'll use to fly to John Chan if he ever wins.
There you go. Sounds like a very reasonable suggestion for you.
Yeah, look, according to Rob, Timu lived on Campbell Street, but moved because I wouldn't allow Timu to win the contest. #facts.
That's true. That's what actually cost him. That's what cost the Jets and resulted in him getting traded. Is that it was all very the butterfly effect of that was very intense.
And for the record, T. Will, I just want you to know that's not true, because as anybody knows, nobody loves to explore MB more than me. So any justification I get to head outside the perimeter, I don't need, especially now, it's snowy owl season. You just go all the way up to Okamic Marsh. You're seeing snowy owls left, right, and center. And as Joe from Winnipeg knows, I love going up to the Interlake any chance I get. There's no spot in this province that I won't use as justification to go and visit. So it's not true. To me, there is no boundary. Unless you're outside of Manitoba, then it's like
that might be that might be a bridge too far for you.
Yeah.
In any event, well, Lake of the Woods. You go to Lake of the Woods. You don't have any.
I do. I love Lake of the Woods too.
Yeah, there you go. That's it's sort of outside of Manitoba, still sort of inside Manitoba. Depends on your perspective.
And just to answer the question, so Bailey knows, I'll send you an email, and then you'll just respond, and then we'll go from there.
Well, there you
go. I was actually rather funny story, Drew. I know you're trying to end the show, but I will say quick. I will say. Drew, let's be realistic. Everybody wants me to waste 4 more minutes so everybody can hear that ding, ding, ding.
That's
ding.
true. You just want to hear the grandfather clock again.
Absolutely. But anyways, what I was going to say is it's funny because the location was showing up wrong for one of our winners because they were, I think, in Niverville, not in Steinbach. And they go, well, it's possible that maybe there's someone with the same name as me who lives in Steinbach and they're the winner. But I looked at their Twitter picture was the same. It matched up. So as long as I was able to prove that we had an authentic winner, I was happy to go.
Some real companies have 2-factor authentication. That means something. Dave is just comparing the little thumbnails on Twitter and whatever else. So it's basically the same kind of high-tech security is what's going on here.
I don't know. Rob doesn't believe that there's people outside the perimeter view. I don't know about that. and sorry, uno momento por favor.
Oh Lord.
Amazing news. Amazing news. That's, it's a little bit, I mean, you want to talk about a Christmas miracle. A Christmas miracle. I saw pictures of something like like Frank Costanza would say, a phoenix rising from the ashes. You know what that was, Drew?
Yeah, what was that?
It was the rebuilding of Salties in Winnipeg Beach. You're welcome, everyone. Salties is coming back. It's probably won't be open till after May long, but I saw the pictures, and I'm not gonna lie, I got excited. The cockles of my heart were warm.
Okay, well there you go. That is important news. That is good breaking news that you're delivering to the audience here on the Illegal Curve post game show.
I thought it was pretty important.
I agree. Look, I'm a big fan. I wholeheartedly agree with you. I do think that was that was important news. That's good for you to update us on all that. We say thank you to everybody who has joined us this evening for the Illegal Curve post-game show. If you haven't already done so, smash the like button. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe to the podcast. Leave us some feedback, particularly on the iTunes page. If you want to leave us some comments there, I think you get some bonus entries into the contest for doing that.
There hasn't been any comments in a while, and you guys keep telling me that you are, and I can go back and nullify because a lot of people have said, "Oh yeah, I left comments on the podcast," and then I go and I look, and I'm like, "There haven't been any comments." So don't force me or Phyllis to get upset with you. Just do what you got to do. Go on the iTunes, leave us a review, preferably 5 stars. That's what I do on Uber. I always give 5 stars. So come on, folks, give us your 5-star review. Just saying.
That's all we ever ask for. We want to say a big thank you to all the sponsors of Illegal Curve who make the post-game show, the Saturday show, and the website a possibility. Our friends at Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, as Frosty Winnipeg has indicated. Kevin Bozeman at Rumors. If you're looking for New Year's Eve plans, there are still some tickets available, not many. There's 2 different show options.
Did we go bowling with Kevin Bozeman, Drew?
Hang on. There's the clock.
Hold on. Yes. That's all I wanted, folks. We got it. Everything else is gravy. I was stalling like I've never stalled before in my life.
I think we did go bowling with Kevin Bozeman, Dave.
Yeah,
bring it up. That was a long time ago. But yes, we did go bowling. We went 5-pin bowling with Kevin Bozeman. Oh gosh, I don't know how many years ago that would be. We'd have to look back, and it's a shame that
I'll type in Kevin Bozeman into my phone while you're doing this. See if I can find it.
See if you can find it in time, and if not, then you can bring it up on Thursday's post game show as well, because he'll still be in town. But the point is, if you haven't yet figured out your New Year's Eve plans, there's 2 shows at Rumors. Tickets available, rumorscomedyclub.com. Our friends at Linden Market Dental Center, they deserve a big shout out. Zappia Group Realty, Betway, they're the official title sponsor of this here Illegal Curve post game show. Tough
you and me, right there.
What's you and me right
that was when we did That's when we did Special Olympics, though. Not Kevin Bozeman.
That wasn't Kevin Bozeman. That was a different. That was when we did that was when we did that event for the Special Olympics. You're right. That's slightly different. Boston Pizza, of course. Seagram's, Rollies Transfer, Grid Park. Apparently, we're going to show the outtakes of that video one of these days, so you can stay tuned for that. And of course, the Keg. Support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey. Dave M and I will be back on Thursday night following the Jets and the Vancouver Canucks. But until then, any and all Winnipeg Jets news will be available on the website, illegalcurve.com. So we encourage you to check that out. All the post-game audio is going to be there as well. Dave Manouk is in the right of the screen. I'm your host, Drew Mandel, until Thursday night, right around, let me do some quick math, 9:45 p.m. Central Time, 10:45 p.m. Eastern Time. We wish you good night and good luck, and thanks for watching the Illegal Curve post-game show.
Thanks for listening to this broadcast from Illegal Curve Hockey. For more great Illegal Curve content, subscribe to the Illegal Curve YouTube channel, follow @Illegal Curve on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and visit your online home for hockey in Winnipeg, illegalcurve.com.